Fantastic.
No. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us today in our first ever Word Series event. My name is Jasmine, and I'll be introducing our Series event. And unfortunately, Harrison, our president, couldn't host, couldn't introduce the Word Series event to you guys, unfortunately, due to some health issues. But he's as excited as I am regarding our new initiative. So, Word Series event in general is to celebrate the diversity and culture and opportunities within the University of Edinburgh. And we are collaborating with the Edinburgh Business School to create Word Series panel discussion events, which will have guests representing regions from all over the world. For our today's event, we are representing Africa continent, and we plan to run these events once monthly. And our first ever event is today, and we are really passionate about starting this initiative off. It's a great insight into the opportunities and entrepreneurship going on in the world around us. And we are here to inform and inspire. And we genuinely hope that you learn something new about business operations in unfamiliar regions. And in our today's Africa panel discussion, we will have guests from Nigeria, Egypt, and Kenya. I'll hand over to Farai now, who will further um, start the discussion on the event.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. It's a pleasure to finally meet everyone. My name is Farai Munjoma. I am from Zimbabwe, and I'll be moderating the session today with the co-entrepreneurs from Africa that we have identified for this World Series. To kick off this particular panel, I'm just going to show you a bit of context about Africa. So I'm going to share my map and before we jump in. So this is usually defined as the African century because Africa is one of the biggest continents and it's growing with the youngest population. And some of the things that you hear around Africa, it's, there's poverty, wars, different constraints, all these different narratives that have been shared. But today you're going to meet people that are going to change your perspectives about the continent. These are entrepreneurs who are doing so many interesting things in their different spaces. And they are what we call, 7 grand challenges in Africa and 7 grand opportunities. And what this means is the grand opportunities in Africa are agriculture. We have so much land, natural resources, arts and culture. We have beautiful arts and culture. What I'm wearing is an East African fabric. Tourism, women empowerment, regional integration, and wildlife conservation. These are the African opportunities. But we also have challenges that we also need to grow and start thinking about. So urbanization, education, infrastructure, healthcare, climate change, governance, and job creation. On this particular panel, we have done a good job to find entrepreneurs from all cardinal points of the continent, north, east, west, south. In the north, there is Ala Muatamed from Egypt. From the east, Kenya, also Silicon Savannah. There's Ifra Mohammed. And west, we have Chris Kwakui from Sledcube. And in the south, Zimbabwe, represented by me, Farai Munjoma. So without wasting any more time, I would like to invite Ala, Ifra, and Chris to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me clear?
Yes, we can hear you. Would also love to see you if possible.
I can't hear you. I don't know. And there is, wait.
Okay. I think Chris can go on as Ala is fixing her internet.
Right. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Hi everybody. My name is Chris Kwakui. I am, as Farai has said, I am Nigerian. I run a technology company that operates at the intersect of education and job creation, basically. So what we do is we build digital platforms that help government agencies, private organizations, and relevant stakeholders build structures that help take young people through skill development and job placement. So we run digital platforms like the Accelerate platform that's designed with online courses to help young people build the skills that companies require and effectively place them into employment, while helping companies leverage artificial intelligence to create intelligent talent pipelines for onboarding early career or entry-level talents into their businesses. And it's a privilege to be here.
Thank you so much, Chris. Efra?
Forgive me, guys. I'm trying to look for perfect lighting, but I can introduce myself in the meantime. I am Ifra Mohammed Arab. I am from Kenya, and I run a social enterprise called Supermom. So Supermom is a social enterprise that empowers women from marginalized communities here in Kenya, especially the northeastern part of Kenya, to create a sales force that distributes fast-moving consumer goods within their communities. So basically, we're trying to solve the last mile distribution gap of fast-moving consumer goods and women empowerment, especially economically. So we train these women on basic financial skills, how to sell and buy, product use in cases where they're needed, how to set a profit margin, etc. And then we match them with products from companies such as Unilever, Procter & Gamble, and major wholesalers here in Kenya. And then these women are able to distribute these goods within their communities and getting a way of earning a living. So I'm really honored to be here, really excited.
Thank you. Ala, I'm sure you've managed to fix the sound issue. Okay, we have lost Ala. So we will just jump into the conversation as we are trying to fix the internet. So we'll start off with you, Chris. You are doing amazing work in the realm of, education and employment, one of the biggest challenges that Africa is facing with a growing youth population. Tell us about your journey getting into this particular space. What drove you to start SledCube? I know you're operating in Lagos, Nigeria, and now in South Africa, Johannesburg. What was your path to get to start SledCube?
So thank you for that question. It was a pretty simple one for me. I first of all didn't set up the company just because I wanted to set up a company. I actually didn't even intend to. I think prior to SledCube, I was running a technology consulting firm, and we're building mobile apps and just enterprise applications for businesses. An example is MTN. And a huge chunk of my classmates, it's good to point out that I was doing this while I was in university. So a good chunk of my classmates wanted to, part of the criteria for graduating college was you had to go to I think it was 6 months industrial training. Now, what happens during this period is that you have to go work for a company that you can apply the skills you've actually learned. And so that was like the requirement. And so people had to go look for companies and sort of work with them for a period of 6 months. Now, many of my classmates had known that I run a company, and so they were like, "Hey, we want to come do our internship with your company." And for them, it was just like a place to while away time, and and then just like fulfill the requirement, because hey, Chris was going to mark our papers and give us A's, so there was no point stressing looking for another company. But also because they knew that I was very big on like software engineering and just writing software programs. My lecturers in school would defer any coding challenge to me and say I should probably help the class out if I had time. So I mean, I had built that reputation. Anyways, long story short, a few of my classmates came in to join, but then when they realized that we were very hands-on and we were very like, and not just how easy I made people learn to code, and the opportunities that we were getting, even as like university students, right? And a few of them had already worked on projects that we were doing for like these big companies, and they saw how lucrative it was and just how easy it was to sit down, focus, build scalable code, and like write problems that solved write solutions to problems that people experience on a day-to-day basis. They were telling their friends, and and basically a lot of people wanted to now join that cohort of people who were doing their internship at our company. And now, I mean, it was a small company. We only had like two rooms to ourselves. And so we couldn't take more than the number we were already taking. So we decided to write up a very, very small platform that allowed some of my classmates to, take the courses, respond to questions and all of that. And that's how, from just my classmates to like, their own friends, a lot of people started taking our programs. And I mean, that's how the whole idea was born. Of course, fast forward, 2 years after that, we had like working partnerships with like government agencies in Nigeria. And then we scaled to South Africa in 2019. So that's pretty much how we started. The truth is, now just looking at the facts, right, you see that there are about 75 million, there are 15 million graduates churned out of our universities every year. And this is across sub-Saharan Africa, 15 million graduates. Yet you find out that about 75% of these graduates are unemployable because they lack the skills that companies care about. So what you're learning in school, there's a huge disparity between what you're learning in school and what employers are looking for. What's even more fascinating is the fact that there are over 2.5 million jobs for entry-level talent that go unfilled every year because they can't find the right people to fill those positions. And so what we're building is a structure that effectively tackles the upskilling problem, but also the talent deficit problem. And we've been able to leverage artificial intelligence to improve many of these processes. So things like changing the way companies hire entry-level talent from just your educational qualification to looking at how your personality traits fit the company's culture, and how you're going to perform on roles and projects, and how companies can actually find really good talent from non-conventional schools. So you find certain people who go on to be some of the very best hire that companies eventually have, coming from like your, the TVET sector, coming from like technical schools as opposed to your traditional universities. So we've created this whole process that help companies find the right kinds of people and help people build the skills that really help them start their careers and progress through life. So, but this is the journey. This is how it started. It just started off as people saying, "Hey, we want to spend our 6 months holiday with you guys," and they found value in it, and we had to start building based on the increasing demand, and we scaled as the demand continued to increase.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for getting us deeper into what's currently happening. Now I have a very special question for you coming up soon after Ala tells us more about what she's doing in Egypt, which is also in e-commerce. So Ala, you may take it from here.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you had me today. Sorry for the interruption before. Basically, my name is Ala Mu'tamad. I'm 21 years old. I live in Minya, Egypt. It's a city in Upper Egypt. I was born in this city and lived all my life in here. I'm co-founder and sales manager in a startup called Presto. Presto is an online platform. We are on-demand, same day, and the scheduled delivery service for individual distributors or home businesses. We provide on-demand delivery service for anyone who has a small business, home business, or just an individual distributor who needs delivery agents to deliver the products to his customers. Now we are operating in 2 cities in Upper Egypt, and in the next month we are expanding in another city. For the beginning of Presto, or what we are doing is our main goal is to empower women in Upper Egypt, because in Upper Egypt women they don't have lots of resources, and they need to start their own businesses, but the outside works is very competitive for them, and they need to start their home businesses by doing things they are good at, like making homemade bakeries, or making food, or making handmade products, or just working as individual distributors by getting something from outside the country. So they just make Facebook group, and that's it. They got their friends in the group and start selling the products to their customers. But they have a huge problem in the operation side. They have to manage lots of delivery agents, and all this operation hassles with the money, and delivering in the right time, with the convenient quality for their customers. So yeah, we started actually from the story of one of my friends. She made a Facebook group, and she had to deliver every product by herself, door by door. And because of that, she could only work one day every week, as she had to deliver everything fresh. So we got the idea from her struggle, and we gathered, me and my co-founders, in a hackathon in Egypt called Rise Up. And that's it. We got the idea and started the beta testing with just minimal amount of people who can just give us the right insights to build the perfect product for the launch. And since then, we are operating. We are 15 employees in the team, with more than 140 delivery agents, empowering more than 400 home businesses. It's 90% from them are women. So I'm so happy, because the impact we are making for these women in this time.
Wow. That's a very big base of agents. Did you say you're 21?
Yeah, I am.
Wow. I was just hearing how you're talking about scaling from city to city and think about more cities to go to. How has that journey been, scaling your products? What sort of like thinking caps have you had to put on as you have thought about going into new cities? Because Egypt is very big as a country. So how have you been thinking about that?
Okay. When we started, we are operating in Minya. It's my city, and it's one of Upper Egypt cities. The system in the ecosystem in Egypt, you'll hear a lot of companies and startups operating in Cairo or Alexandria. These are the capital cities and the main cities in Egypt. But there isn't any focus or resources or investment opportunities put in Upper Egypt, or the underserved communities, as I call them. These underserved communities, people don't think that there are resources, that there are talents or money, but because I am in this city, and I saw women like me starting their home business, and there is lots of opportunities, and there are lots of talents. These people don't have just the resources. If they have the resources, they make they will make a huge difference. So when we are thinking about the expansion, we not just thinking about we need to move to another city or just to expand our startup. We just focus about what will make the benefit for our customers. We need to make a different product to expand the service, or to give them another facility that will help them operate better and will help them expand their service, or we need to go to another city to understand the community more. So we found that there are lots of cities in Upper Egypt. They are like 8 cities. So we need to expand and I don't know how to say it, but we need to make these people shine and have the opportunity that they don't have, and to make people all around Egypt and all around Africa to look at Egypt as it's not just the capital city. It's not Cairo. It's not Alex. No, Egypt has lots of potential all over the country.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for that explanation. And I think there's definitely a powerful story coming from women in entrepreneurship across Africa in general. And you talking about how you saw other women doing business and you're also inspired, and how your personal experience has helped you think about how to personalize your service to different communities. Another phenomenal woman on this panel is Ifra, right? She's also doing amazing stuff in Kenya. Ifra, may you please tell us more about your journey starting Supermom? It's in the name. Tell us what's interesting and special about these Supermoms.
You please excuse my camera. My lighting is very, very bad. So Supermom, I'm gonna answer that by just quickly telling you about why Supermom started and how I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. So Supermom was born out of my wanting to change sort of some parts of my culture. So I come from the Somali community, which occupies the northeastern part of Kenya. So there's a lot growing up, I learned that boys actually had better chances compared to girls. So that was me as a young girl. I realized the numbers of girls in my class were way less than the number of boys in my class. I wasn't allowed to do certain activities that guys were allowed to do, and there was just it was just in the air. So growing up, I noticed a lot of activities that I wasn't able to do just because I was a girl, and I grew up wanting to change that. I grew up trying to learn why I wasn't allowed to do certain things while the male population was allowed to do it. So growing up, I had that whole fire of I want to change this. I want to, make life better for women. So I was privileged enough to actually have parents who were open-minded, who sent me to school and allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do, mostly. So one thing I wanted to do was allow other girls also have the same opportunities that I had. So out of that whole, I want to just empower women. I just want to bring people to understand that, girls should also be given a chance. Women should also be allowed to do certain things, is how I came up with Supermom. So funny enough, I started, fiercely with the whole, I want to change culture, I want to change culture. But then I learned that's not the way to do it. There was a lot of opposition. It wasn't easy, basically. You can't just wake up and change a whole culture. So, which is when I discovered another problem, which was the last mile distribution gap. So I'm going to find out that's the fancy term they call it later on. But I realized that there were certain people that would travel on a monthly basis to come to, my mom had a shop, to come to my mom's shop and buy things on a monthly basis. So they'd come buy your basic everyday use products. So what you find in your grocery stores. So they'd buy sugar, flour, but every end of the month. So this still makes sense to me as well. So I kept wondering why people would travel such a long distance to come and get things that, I travel 5 minutes to get. Which is why now I started asking questions and finding out, what was happening. And when I did my research, I found out that this whole thing is actually called last mile distribution gap, where manufacturers are unable to actually reach certain consumers, like that last end consumer within the villages in my part of the country. So I decided to use this opportunity to now reach my end goal, which was empowerment of women. So I decided now to use women, because one thing that women are allowed to do in my community is business. So selling and buying is not considered a man's job. It's considered everyone's job, like anyone can do it. So I decided to train this women on basic financial skills. It's not exactly how it happened. I learned along the way, but I started training them on just basically how to sell and buy. So this was from the basic knowledge that me and my team had. And then pitching to companies who are really struggling with this last mile distribution gap problem, and telling them we have a sales force of women that are ready to distribute door to door or from their houses. And that's how Supermom was born. So the reason why, and you asked me why Supermoms are special, and the reason why I think Supermoms are special, one, the Supermoms, I mean, and then two, I think the fact that, first of all, they're part of the community, the villagers, everybody knows each other in villages. There's the advantage of, marketing is through word of mouth. So everybody knows so and so is selling this and this. And then two, they're now able to make the product more affordable for the consumers, because now it's much closer and they don't need to save up to buy goods in bulk or travel really long distances to access this goods. And these women are women who are part of their community. So they trust them, it's much easier. And the best part is now they have a way of earning a living. And when I'm training them, I can tell them to take their daughters to school and allow them to do other things. So for me, it was an agenda at the beginning, but I'm glad this came out of it.
Wow, you had a very big, audacious goal to change culture. And may I please just ask, out of interest, at what age did you want to change the culture when you started Supermom?
I was 17.
Wow. Yeah, I was reading once, and there's this uh in psychology where the messianic stage in development, I think it's between the age of 16 and 18. I don't know psychologists on this call, but it's the stage in human development when you literally think you can change the world. And most of the stories where entrepreneurs start across the world, it's around that age where they think they've got the fire and they're trying to, save the culture and everything. And it's interesting how some of these stories actually become bigger success stories. So thank you so much, Ifra. On this particular note, you are currently a school entrepreneur in residence at Oxford, and you're also doing your MBA at Oxford. Congratulations for that. As a school fellow, and now being part of a bigger network of social entrepreneurs across the world, what do you think the future looks like for young women who want to pursue entrepreneurship and business?
That's a very tough question. So one, what I didn't have much growing up was a lot of people to look up to from my community, which is something I'm really sort of proud of at the moment, because I get to say, I came all the way from Garissa and, I'm able to walk the halls of Said. But I think, what was your question again? What do I think the future is
The
like for
future.
women?
I think you partly answered it. The fact that they are now role models to look up to, and people that they can use as reference points to say, this is possible.
Yeah, and everything's achievable, by the way. Everything is achievable. A lot of determination and yeah, but then everything is achievable. Just put your mind to it and you're gonna get there.
Wonderful. Let's move back to Chris in Lagos. So you start this business, your colleagues want to be part of this project. Uh, at what age did you start this venture? Because I think age is one of the things that has come up as a theme in this particular conversation, which again ties back to the whole notion of Africa being the youngest continent in the world. What age did you get into entrepreneurship, Chris?
Can you hear me? Right. I was 19 at the time I started.
Wow. And just for interesting sake, through all this work that you're doing, you attracted the interest of very, interesting personalities in the world. One of them being Bill Gates. And Bill Gates offered you a job and you declined a job from Bill Gates. How did that whole entire experience go?
So I guess now I get a chance to actually correct something.
Okay,
So
please.
it was Microsoft and not Bill Gates. It was a bunch of tech companies. I just finished from MIT at the time, so had a few companies who reached out, and literally every single year since then, like there's always been one interesting company reaching out to have me join their team. So at the time, I said no. I think for me, it wasn't more so about being um, super convinced that what I was doing was going to change the world, as many press houses have fantasized. Uh, it was just basically me saying I wanted to own the whole rights to what I was building. I didn't want to have to get into any legal battles with like any major tech companies saying like they owned certain parts of like what I was doing because of the access I have working for their company. So that was primarily why I didn't. The conversation with Bill, which is still an ongoing one, is more so with his foundation and like just the work that he's trying to do in developing parts of the world. Um, so I just wanted to get that, clear that out.
Awesome. I'm glad there's still an ongoing conversation though.
Right.
At the formative years of starting your venture, everyone gets into this whole idea of, okay, should I get into entrepreneurship full time or should I get a job?
Right.
Have there been times where you've sat back and said, oh my God, I wish I'd taken that job from Microsoft during your journey starting SlatCube?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll be lying to you if I tell you that it's been a bed of roses just building a company. That's an absolute lie. It's even worse building a company on the continent because like you have the hurdles that you have to deal with. Like you're also going to deal with just the sheer fact that you need to raise extra capital, which isn't readily available, especially if you're not playing like the fintech space, which is the space that most institutional investors tend to want to invest in. It's been rough. It's been difficult. But I think for us, it's just that shared conviction that beyond money, we're actively helping people get into find their purpose in life. I feel like Ifra would also say the same thing. There's that sheer fulfillment you get when you help other people meet their economic expectations. Experience a better quality of life as opposed to what they would typically have been exposed to. And then we say that like for every revenue, so our revenue is directly proportional to social impact at SlatCube. So because like every time we make money, right, it means someone has started their career or a company has effectively found the kinds of people they need to scale their operations. And so that makes a lot of sense for us. So when we benchmark, when we're reporting our our impact for every given year, right, we're stating that in terms of like social impact, but also financial gains that come in at the same time. So yeah, I mean it's been difficult. It's been hard. It's been tough. You have to deal with like lack of basic infrastructure, like you're dealing with electricity sometimes. Other times you're dealing with the fact that there's low internet penetration in certain parts of like the continent. So I just think it makes a lot of sense to first understand that doing business on a continent requires a lot of sheer grit, but then the rewards are just as high as well. Because like if you're able to surmount and get these things going, then you've been able to build a system that improves the economic outcome or expectations of the people you're trying to cater to, but also increases your control in that particular market that you're playing. And I mean, while we've had some difficulties working with government agencies just across the continent, we've seen that things are changing. Like a lot of things are getting better. Just the sheer receptiveness to working with younger entrepreneurs. A few government agencies are setting up funds to support the youngest entrepreneurs on the continent. I know I can speak of like the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund has set up a $76 million fund. And then just a bunch of these different guys who are looking at the work that the entrepreneurs like myself and other success stories across the continent have been able to show that it makes sense to take that risk and to create an enabling environment to support these kinds of people. So yeah, that's my experience, but also I guess to answer that question, yes, there are times where you think about just how if I were doing a 9 to 5, I would probably be earning way more than I was earning before the business picked up, and I would not have to worry myself about dealing with these hard problems. They are structural. There are systems that are put in place to bring in a whole bunch of a team of experts who are well paid to help me think about solving the problem that this company has hired me to solve. But running a business is different because you have to find these bright people who are going to be willing to want to do this thing that you're interested in for next to nothing for between 6 months to Lord knows how many years it's going to take you before you get market traction and then you get significant revenue. But the rewards are higher because then eventually you're able to do the things you really love and care about, and then you have enough time to spend with your loved ones and all of that. So, but again, there's also some sort of fallacy to that because running your business doesn't necessarily mean that you have your time to yourself. It just means that you're going to be working more hours, but you're going to be putting in those hours doing the things that you actually care about.
Wonderful. I love how you have demystified so many things that we read online and YouTube, and people are like, no, follow this, do that, quit that job. I love how you've talked about it. So it's 5:40 UK time. I don't want to keep asking questions. I think with some solid evidence and story background of what you guys are doing, I would want to invite the audience. I'm sure you've had questions lingering at the back of your mind. This is the opportunity to ask Ifra, Ala, and Chris about what their experiences have been. So please do not hesitate to shoot your question. Okay, I can see that people feel inspired in the chat box. So kudos to you guys. Yep, I can hear someone. Yep.
Sorry, can I answer Jasmine's question real
Sure.
quick?
Yes,
Starting off with Supermom, my mission was obviously, to increase opportunities for women in my community. But then I've been humbled. I've learned a lot on my journey. So one thing I've learned is it's going to be slow, first of all. It's going to be really slow. And then two, I have to work with the systems in place as well. So understand and then work with to work against them. So I'll give you an example. My community doesn't allow me to speak in front of a gathering without permission, sort of. So, and I can't speak directly to elders by myself because I'm still considered very young. So what I've had to do is look for other elders who at least are a bit more, approachable and, a bit more open to understanding the work that I'm doing and have them help me approach these other elders. And then the other thing that's really been working in my favor, or in Supermom's favor, has been the economic empowerment. So I think once people see that they're able to earn, it makes things a bit much easier. So long as money is involved and they see their lives improving, it makes things a bit better. And then there's the whole mentality of the person who's helping us now or the person who's improving the quality of our lives is doing so because she got the opportunity to go to school or to get exposed to all these things that we don't allow our children girl daughters rather sorry, to go through as well. So there's also that whole, if there's also, let's take our daughters to school so they can be able to now help us too, or let's do this, let's expose our daughters to this so they're able to help us. So the lack of opportunities, it's going to take a while to solve it, but then it's something that I hope slowly and gradually is going to be, something that's going to be easily accepted.
Thanks, Afra. That's perfect.
Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? So I'll just throw this question to the three of you, which is, in a world where we've become closer, we can't solve challenges in isolation. People across different regions of the world have to look at problems together and work together. In your different ventures and the work that you do, where do you see key areas of collaboration with, for example, here in Europe, your Western counterparts, other young people that are interested in entrepreneurship, or even older stakeholders? Where do you see, some potential opportunities for collaboration and co-creation of ideas and solutions as we move forward and work together to solve some of these big challenges in the world?
I can go. Or does someone want to go?
No, you can go, Chris.
All right. So I think I feel like, right, depending on the sector that you play in, many times I feel like certain technology need to be, open source. The problem of, and I just speak for the sector I play in, the problem of education and unemployment is interestingly, it's a global problem. So I feel like best practices should be shared across different kinds of companies. One thing that we've been very dogmatic about is making sure that we share best practices with the guys at Udemy, the guys at Udacity, the guys at Coursera. We have working relationship with the guys at EDX, just because they have dealt with some of the challenges that we might be experiencing on the continent. And so it just makes sense that you look at how they've been able to deal with those type of things like internet latency, a bunch of things that we've had to experience building for the African continent. And then you get to listen to some of these guys who are building. And then, knowledge sharing, say between the guys at LinkedIn, for instance, because we're very big on the early career entry level space. And LinkedIn traditionally has worked very well for mid-level to senior level executives. So just sharing best practices, sharing, what we've been able to build, and not being afraid to have your ideas stolen, because the truth is, it's almost always about implementation as opposed to just the sheer ingenuity behind your idea. So I've learned that I don't really care for an idea to be stolen right now. I just care more for the best minds just being able to brainstorm, because it's what we really care about is solving a problem, especially if you play in a social impact space. It does not make sense to hoard information. I feel like that for me is a very big space to share. Sharing information is just, I think it's it for me. Also, the truth is nobody has a perfect 360 view of the problem. No matter how educated you are, there are certain biases that people have. Either biases spurred by race or spurred by geographical location, right? So it just makes sense that and the more you share and the more you speak to experts who are playing in the same space, the more you realize certain blind spots that you've developed over time. So yeah, absolutely agree that knowledge sharing and collaborative tinkering is the best way to go about solving problems.
Thank you so much, Chris, for the answer. We have just received a message, a question, which is, do you see yourself staying in Africa in the long run, or do you have plans to find opportunities in other regions? And why might an entrepreneur from the UK look for opportunities in Africa? From Harrison.
Who's this question targeted?
I want to go.
If you want to take it.
I want to go. Yes. Definitely live and die in Africa. So that yes to the first question. Do I have plans to find opportunities in other regions? If they allow me to still live in Africa, then fine. I'm really looking forward to that last question. Why might an entrepreneur from the UK look for opportunities in Africa? First of all, Farai just talked about how Africa is the youngest continent. There's a lot of opportunity for development. There's a lot of opportunity for innovation. I mean, I think in other continents, almost everything's been done, but then Africa is really, it has the opportunity for you to do anything at the moment. Like you are able to start everything, and most of the weather is perfect. So guys, I'm very biased about the weather, but like it's a good place to live. Again, very biased because I'm from here. And there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot. I sit down every day, and even with Supermom, I think about a lot of opportunities. You can never miss out with Africa. I guess that's
Thank you so much. Same question applies to both Chris and Ala. I don't know if you want to take a stab at it.
Right. So for me, the only deviation I have is I do agree. I have learned not to over fantasize about certain things because I have operated in multiple parts of the continent, and I understand that there's certain peculiarities to doing business here. But let me just answer the first question. I absolutely want to be on the continent. I mean, I run a series of businesses, and I know for the sake of this event, I've just had to focus on Slave Keep, right? And none of them require me to be, physically present for longer than 3 months at any given time. Besides, I have to shorten my time between like Nigeria and South Africa and Swaziland and Kenya, because like these are new markets that we're launching in. But then I'm always open to opportunities anywhere else. I don't have to be, but like Ifra has said it perfectly. I would rather deal with the heat on the continent than have to deal with like the insane cold weather. I spend, the time I spend at MIT, I was like, nah, I don't want to deal with this for longer than I need to. But then again, come to talk about, someone in, Europe trying to do business on the continent, absolutely pursue opportunities, but you need to understand that if a partnership would typically take you maybe 3 months in a developed environment, it's probably going to take you 2 years in trying to foster that partnership here on the continent. And that's a real problem, right? Because I've had to experience some of these things too. So you also need to understand that there are infrastructure deficit, that like you would require. So if you're trying to deal with something that has to do with power, you might need to worry about like working with local partners to set up effectively to function and be effective on the continent. So there are these things that you have to deal with. But once you have those things sorted out, the sky's the limit, because there are so many challenges that have to be dealt with. And the moment you're able to set up a proper structure for your business, you become like a market leader, and you can tap into all of the opportunities that the continent affords you.
Wonderful. Ala, want to take a second?
Yeah, that's really a great question. It makes me wondering what are my plans for the long run. for my business, I see Presto helping a lot of businesses in Africa, not just in Egypt. So I think, yeah, we are for sure expanding for more countries in Africa. But as you said, we are a close world now. So if I can see that my business will benefit more people in another continent, I think we will be expanding our service to more regions. Because I would love to have connections and to see more of the world and to see my impact helping more people. For sure, I understand our country better and our continent better, but I think, yeah, we will see more underserved communities all over the world. And for the other question, if you want to, as an entrepreneur from UK, looking for opportunities in Africa, yeah, it's a fertile land. You can find opportunities in every track: agriculture, technology, infrastructure, health, everything. You will find people who are working and giving all the best to provide a great service or a great product. So yeah, there are lots of opportunities, and it's a great continent, and the spirit you will find with people here, that's the core that will make you looking for more opportunities in Africa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that response. And I think, in general, if I were to answer this question personally, the average age of an African is 20 years old, and the average age of a European is 43 years old. So you guys are 23 years older than the rest of the continent. And I would put my money on a 20-year-old because they've got definitely more time and energy to work and create and do all these interesting things. For UK entrepreneur, as Chris has rightfully said, there is definitely more capital in the UK and the opportunities are in Africa. So you have the opportunity to breed those infrastructure and capital and technology gaps that exist and get to work with local entrepreneurs and also bring that capital and technology that makes people work well. And we've seen examples of these things work well in mining, in technology, in agriculture. So the opportunities are big. When we started, there's all these opportunities and challenges, and you are free to come and focus on any of them. Yes, Tamara has some questions to ask. Yeah, please do shoot the question. Yeah.
Hi, I had a couple questions for each of you. I was just wondering if you found the transition from coming from MIT, going from Africa to MIT, or like Africa to Oxford, like how you found that, and then maybe what you'd say was one of the biggest things you learned from that. And then also if you felt like COVID has had an impact on any of your businesses, especially for the people who have something that's more in like a delivery service.
Thank you for those questions.
Ifra, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So it's been a bit of bittersweet. So it's very exciting, of course, being at Oxford and doing an MBA, because my background is law, and I'm really glad I now have the opportunity to at least, not that I haven't, gotten the principles, but just to understand what corporate is like and just learn all the business terms I had to Google before pitches. So that's a good transition. I'm liking the studies. the expectations that I had, but that's a bit different. That's just, Oxford related. But the expectations I had academically is a bit different because the marketing makes it look like they don't have an academic approach, but they do. So I was thinking more of like, the innovation and the entrepreneurship and the impact focus, which is why I applied to say. But anyway, I didn't actually get the opportunity to be on campus for both semesters. And I'm sad about that because I have really amazing classmates and I wish I was able to actually interact with them personally. But I'm also glad I'm not there during the harshest weather and the worst COVID pandemic. Like worst times, it's not a good time to be there. And then with my business, so with Supermom, I had a very hard time letting go of like most of my duties, which is something I've complained about to Farai like a lot of times. I found it very hard to let go of Supermom because it was a bit too personal for me. So it was something that I started off with sort of like a personal agenda, not the the business that it has now. So I kept feeling like I want to do this, I want to do this. It's my baby, blah blah blah. But I've learned to actually delegate and trust people to carry out the activities. So that's made it much easier for me to actually give more time for school and anything else that, I've had interest in. And I'll tell you about it maybe when I go on campus about the difference between living in the UK and living in Kenya, because the most I've done is go for interviews. So I can't, compare the whole experience with living there exactly. But I wish I was there for now because online studies are just, they really suck to be honest. They really, really suck.
Really difficult.
I can see so many people confirming in the school.
Yeah, it really sucks. But I'm trying to see, how I can make the most of it.
Awesome.
I
Thank
hope
you
I've
so much.
answered your
Ife.
question.
Yeah. Chris, and then we conclude. We're almost just on time to conclude.
Right. Great. So COVID was, and I don't like saying this because people basically had a rough year last year. But business-wise, COVID was really good for us because it helped change user behavior, and like just like the bunch of people who we're trying to speak to, and we had already put this pipeline of companies to onboard. But then because of COVID and the fact that like a lot of people had a lot of business processes had to adopt to online, like your schools now have you learn quickly as opposed to being in on site and in person. And yeah, we crossed the $1 million mark for the first time, one of our services. So that was really good for us. Yeah, but just in general, I mean, I guess it's just showing people that like the internet can no longer be a plan B for your business. You have to find ways to leverage the internet and technology to help you scale. So that's one aspect. The second part of your question, which is was there any real change experienced moving from say MIT to like the continent? Absolutely. The truth is some of the concepts covered during like if you do a program in say MIT or a side business school or INSEAD or any of these places is that many times the contexts that are considered are not exactly relevant to the market you're coming from. And so you have to be smart enough to be able to create the scenarios that actually reflect what the market that you're playing in. And you have to now push so that certain case studies that are relevant, that most relevant to your business, can be addressed in class. So as opposed to considering more developed markets, you're going to be saying, hey, listen, I want us to do a research on X, Y, and Z industry in Kenya or Zambia, these different types of places. So that's what I was very deliberate about that. Second thing is, I'm not even going to lie to you. I felt like it was easier schooling, going overseas to study because like we go through the most here. Like we're dealing with, you come to class and some of your lecturers, right, where you're supposed to learn software engineering, it's been your lecturers are writing lines of code on a blackboard, and you're like, how am I going to know this is going to work in the first place? What's the proof to show that what you've written right now is going to work? But then you come to a space where you actually have to practice these things, and for me, I was lucky. One of my faculty members was Tim Berners-Lee, the guy who literally invented the internet. So you get to speak with like some of the best minds that are available. So I think that was that. But then also just being very clear to understand that like I have to be very deliberate about translating what I'm learning here to the context that I'm going to be applying these principles, which is sub-Saharan Africa. So that's how I was able to navigate through that challenge. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And it's kind of crazy that there's like the whole other, I guess, barrier you have to break through. Like once you get there of, okay, how can I apply this back to home so it's relevant to me?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Setting business practice, unfortunately, don't consider like the peculiarities of doing business on a continent. I just think I need to.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tamara, which country do you come from?
I'm actually from Egypt.
Oh, nice. Great.
Yeah.
It's the end of the session. I think one of the biggest takeaways from the entrepreneurs that we've had has been this mission-driven agenda to both create economic value and social value, and just how they've been able to jump onto this entrepreneurship wave earlier on, and just how pragmatic and honest they've been. They feel the same problems and pains that everyone else is feeling. They have to do online schooling, they have to do everything, and I think this has definitely been an eye-opener for us. And yeah, we're excited for future World Series programs. I will pass it over to Yasmin to conclude the session, and we can call it an evening.
I would say that it was a fantastic event. I personally learned a lot about Egypt and Africa continent in general. And thank you, Farai, for hosting our event, our first event, and it was amazing. You did an amazing job, and thank you everyone for joining us, and it was amazing. And we look forward to speaking to you in future World Series event. And I think that's us for today, and I will conclude our event now. All right, speak to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night, guys.